Usually, when a Hollywood director makes a massive hit, their career trajectory becomes, entirely
Oh,
predictable.
yeah. Totally linear.
Right. Like, they get a bigger budget, they make a bigger hit, and eventually their job is just, well, they're just managing focus groups and green screens.
Yeah, it becomes a factory line. The artistic identity gets completely sanded down until you're left with something that appeals to everyone by saying, basically absolutely nothing.
Exactly. You expect the blockbuster machine to just completely flatten out any of their quirky or original tendencies. But then you step into the world of Christopher Nolan,
Right.
and that predictable factory line is completely shattered. So today, our mission on this deep dive is to explore the evolution of a filmmaker who went from shooting zero-budget corporate videos in the UK,
Literally zero budget.
yeah, to generating a cumulative $6 billion at the worldwide box office, and doing all of that without losing his artistic soul.
Which is, frankly, a nearly impossible tightrope walk in modern cinema. I mean, he has somehow managed to balance immense award-winning prestige with massive populist appeal.
Right.
You rarely see someone demanding that much intellectual engagement from a global audience who is, just sitting there eating popcorn.
Yeah, it's wild. And the catalyst for us digging into this today is the 2026 release of his newest epic, The Odyssey.
Ah, yes. The big one.
The big one. Esquire's editors recently used this massive new release as a sort of Trojan horse to rank all 13 of his films. But for you listening right now, our goal today isn't just to list off movies from worst to best. We want to decode exactly how Nolan became one of the defining artists of the 21st century.
Right, to look at the mechanics of it.
Yeah. So, okay, let's unpack this. If you look at his entire filmography, you shouldn't see it as a list at all. You should really see it as this intricate mechanical puzzle box.
Ooh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, thanks. And the recurring motifs, things like time, memory, identity, and those sleek modernist aesthetics, they are all just the interlocking gears making the box open.
What's fascinating here is that to truly understand the massive scale of a film like The Odyssey, we actually have to rewind.
Right.
We have to look at the circular storytelling that started it all, because those recurring motifs, those gears in the puzzle box, they weren't forged on a $200 million set.
No, not at all.
They were forged when he had almost no money whatsoever.
Exactly. To understand how he builds a massive puzzle block today, you have to look at what he did when he literally couldn't afford the gears. So we are going back to 1998, a year before his first feature. Nolan makes this surreal little short film called Doodlebug.
Doodlebug, yeah.
It is literally just a man in a room trying to kill an insect with his shoe. He's chasing it, trying to squash it, until he suddenly realizes that he's the ant he's trying to kill.
Yeah, the hunter becomes the hunted.
Right.
It's an entirely closed loop. And you see the exact same conceptual architecture in his first actual feature film, Following.
Mm-hmm.
It's about an aspiring author stalking strangers to, find creative inspiration. But he ends up getting completely tangled in a murder plot.
Right, so the observer becomes the victim.
Exactly. I mean, it's a flawed indie, sure, but it establishes his absolute obsession with perspective and consequence.
And he realizes he can take that exact same theme from Doodlebug and apply it to a feature-length mystery. And that is how we get Memento in 2000.
Such a good film.
It really is a small-budget miracle. You have a protagonist trying to piece together his wife's murder, but he has no short-term memory. But here's the trick, and it's a big one. Nolan forces the audience to experience the movie in reverse chronological order.
Yeah.
Memento isn't a straight line, it's a hairpin turn. He starts you at the end of the maze and blindfolds you while walking you back to the entrance.
Which is just...
He literally gives the viewer the feeling of short-term memory loss, so you feel the protagonist's exact handicap.
Which is brilliant, right, because it forces empathy through structure, not just dialogue.
Exactly.
He didn't have the budget to blow up a building or bend a city street in half like he does later, so he had to bend the narrative structure itself. He had to manipulate the audience's perception of memory and truth.
Okay, I have to ask you, and push back a little on the pacing and intention of these early projects.
Yeah.
Is Memento essentially just the feature-length, high-stakes version of the Doodlebug ant getting squashed by its own actions?
Yeah.
Like, were these early films just Nolan figuring out his voice at the audience's expense? Is he just playing games with us?
It's a fair question, but I would argue they are absolutely not just practice runs. They are the genesis of his core philosophy.
Okay.
And this matters so much for you as a viewer today because it demonstrates how constraints breed creativity.
Yeah.
When you don't have visual spectacle to rely on, you have to rely on structural ingenuity.
Right.
He wasn't just finding his voice. He was defining the literal rules of the game he would play with audiences for the next 2 decades.
That makes sense. So what happens when you hand that indie structure bender the keys to the biggest intellectual property on the planet?
Well, you get Batman Begins in 2005.
Exactly. And remember the context here. The superhero boom was dominated by the hyper-stylized worlds of Blade, or, the colorful camp of Spider-Man.
Yeah, very comic booky.
Right. Nolan steps in and grounds the mythology. He takes away the rubber muscles and the cartoon villains and brings superheroes into a reality that looks and feels exactly like ours. And I love this detail from the source.
What are you going to say?
Batman Begins is the only Nolan film that somehow survived being tied to a Nickelback TV commercial without losing its gritty aura.
A truly impossible feat. Just miraculous.
Right.
But that grounded reality revolutionized the entire industry's approach to franchise filmmaking. He proved that you could treat comic book source material with the gravitas of a historical drama.
And then he completely shatters the ceiling with The Dark Knight in 2008. But wait, I have to stop here. It wasn't just that he made a great superhero movie.
No.
He basically took a Michael Mann crime epic, specifically Heat, and just happened to dress the lead detective in a batsuit.
Yes.
He fused graphic novels like The Long Halloween with a sprawling, tense urban crime thriller.
Exactly. He disguised a sprawling meditation on urban decay and chaos as a summer popcorn movie.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the conclusion. The Dark Knight rises. And this is where the scale goes completely off the charts. You have a beefy warlord engineering the false revolution, you have massive set pieces, and just a huge ensemble cast.
Now, the Esquire piece points out that the politics of The Dark Knight Rises are notoriously confusing.
Very much so.
And obviously, to be clear for you listening, regardless of where anyone falls on the political spectrum, we aren't taking a stance here. We're just looking at what the source highlights. But it raises a really vital structural question.
Okay, what is it?
Did the sheer massive scale of this concluding chapter cause the intimate, grounded storytelling of the first 2 films to buckle under its own weight?
I mean, it's an imperfect film, certainly. There's a lot going on. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, the entire Batman trilogy served a very specific purpose for Nolan's career. He used this massive comic book IP to prove to the studios that he could handle immense scale, enormous budgets, and immense pressure.
He became a household name.
Exactly. And more importantly, he earned the blank checks he needed. He proved he was a safe bet for a blockbuster, which allowed him to make blockbusters out of his own mind.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting.
Let's hear it.
How did he spend that blank check? Because between these massive Batman tentpoles, he was crafting standalone thrillers that mirror his own methodical trickery as a director.
Yes, the smaller films.
Right. Take Insomnia in 2002. He casts Robin Williams, a beloved, manic comedian, completely against type as a chilling, quiet killer in an always sunny Alaska.
Such a brilliant casting choice.
The source describes Insomnia as a dog-eared paperback novel dwarfed by leather-bound hardcovers. It's a lean, mean psychological thriller that gets a bit lost in his massive universe. But then he uses his clout to make The Prestige in 2006.
Oh, and The Prestige is where the puzzle box truly snaps into focus.
Yeah.
It's a Victorian period piece about rival magicians playing a dangerous, literally deadly game of one-upmanship. And it even drags in Nikola Tesla to blur the line between science and magic.
But looking at how it's constructed, and it started with modest reviews but became this passionate fan favorite, is The Prestige actually his most honest movie about himself?
How do you mean?
Like, is Nolan essentially just a magician obsessed with pulling off the greatest trick for the audience?
Oh, I think that is the only way to read it. I really do. The very first line of The Prestige asks the audience, are you watching closely?
Right.
That isn't just dialogue for that specific scene. It is the ultimate instruction manual for watching any Christopher Nolan film. He tells you up front that every magic trick consists of 3 parts.
The pledge, the turn, and the prestige.
Exactly. The pledge, where he shows you something ordinary, the turn, where he makes it do something extraordinary, and the prestige, where he brings it back and shocks you.
Right.
He is explicitly telling you how he constructs his films. He operates with the exact same obsessive, methodical craftsmanship as the illusionists in that story.
Which perfectly sets up the transition from the metaphorical magic tricks of the prestige to the literal bending of physics, time, and scale. Let's talk about weaponizing time.
Oh, my favorite topic.
Starting with Inception in 2010. This is a sci-fi heist film, but really it's an elaborate metaphor for filmmaking itself. You have a director, a producer, a set designer, all breaking into a subject's mind.
Yeah, the roles map perfectly.
And the mechanism here is brilliant. He uses the architecture of dreams to dilate time. 5 minutes in the real world equals an hour in a dream, which equals weeks in a deeper dream. He visually mapped out how human consciousness stretches time.
And notice the progression of his career here. In Memento, time is scrambled by the limits of human memory. In Inception, time and reality are stretched within the subconscious.
Right.
But then he jumps to Dunkirk in 2017, and he takes time and weaponizes it in a real-world historical setting.
Yeah, the traumatization of the 1940 miracle of Dunkirk.
Instead of relying on heavy exposition or, sepia-tinted valor, he relies on the suffocating pressure of time running out. Hans Zimmer's score literally uses a ticking watch escalation to seed constant anxiety. In Dunkirk, time isn't just a setting, time is the enemy.
Time is the enemy, and then he takes time and completely breaks it in Tenet.
Oh boy, Temet.
Right. They're trying to prevent World War III using a concept called inverted entropy. To put it simply, instead of a bullet shooting out of a gun, inverted entropy means the bullet starts in the wall and flies backward into the barrel.
It's wild to watch.
He's taking the rewind button on your remote control and making it a physical law of nature within the movie. But I have to push back here.
Okay.
The source plainly admits that Tenet has a nonsense plot and quotes a character in the film telling the protagonist, "Don't try to understand it, feel it."
Yeah, that line is famous.
Isn't that the exact opposite of what a methodical, logical, puzzle box director like Nolan usually demands of us?
It does seem like a massive contradiction at first glance. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, look at what he's actually doing.
Okay.
From the layered dream states of Inception, to the relentless ticking clock of Dunkirk, to the inverted bullets of Tenet, Nolan treats time as a physical, malleable landscape. He is asking you to feel the physics of time as an emotional weight. The plot mechanics of Tenet might be convoluted, but the physical sensation of time moving backwards, that disorientation, that inevitability, that is what he wants you to experience. He's pushing the medium to its absolute limit.
So time is an antagonist, a landscape, and a weapon. And that brings us to the absolute climax of our deep dive. We are shifting from the mechanics of time to the emotional, terrifying extremes of the human condition.
Right.
In 2023, he releases Oppenheimer. He takes a story about theoretical physics and closed-door committee hearings, and he makes it move with the velocity of an action thriller.
He twists time and space to make history feel like a propulsive, explosive spectacle.
Yes. Entirely centered on a brilliant, handsome, haunted protagonist undone by his own obsession.
It is a staggering exploration of hubris and the destructive power of creation. And it is that exact thematic space that sets the stage for his brand new release, The Odyssey.
Exactly. The source describes The Odyssey as a spiritual sequel to Oppenheimer. But instead of giant atomic bombs, we are dealing with literal giants.
Literal giants.
It's a massive mythic retelling of a king's perilous journey home after the Trojan War. And Nolan deprives himself of his usual modern crutches. No sleek, futuristic architecture, no guns, no gadgets.
Yeah, he leans fully into Greek oral traditions, blending this gritty, mud-soaked realism with impossible Baroque operatics and cosmic horrors.
It's a story of a man who thought he could conquer the world, only to be punished by the gods and forced to survive it.
It is the ultimate story of survival and human endurance, blown up to a mythic scale. He strips away the technology to look purely at human resilience, which makes total sense when you realize what took the #1 spot on Esquire's entire ranking.
Yes, the #1 spot is a shock. It's Interstellar.
What a choice.
A film that was heavily divisive upon its release, but has since turned into his undeniable masterpiece. We have a near-future Earth on the brink of ecological collapse and a desperate mission into a wormhole to find a new home.
Right.
And he trades his usual pulsating tribal drum scores for Hans Zimmer using an ethereal, wheezing 1926 Harrison and Harrison pipe organ. It gives it this deeply spiritual, cathedral-like atmosphere.
It's gorgeous.
And ultimately, it's a majestic ode to love as a literal, quantifiable, universal force that binds space and time. But okay, I had to point out the wildest contradiction mentioned in our source material.
Go for it.
The mastermind behind these towering, meticulous, intellectual masterpieces of human survival secretly loves the Fast and Furious franchise.
Yeah.
He apparently has zero guilt about it. He just loves it.
I absolutely love that detail. And honestly, it explains exactly why Interstellar takes the #1 spot.
Why is that?
Because it proves that underneath all the cold mathematical precision of Nolan's filmmaking, underneath the reverse chronologies and the inverted entropy, there's a genuine beating heart.
Wow.
He isn't just a technician. He is a romantic.
Oh.
Whether it is the high-octane family melodrama of Fast and Furious or a father traversing a black hole to save his daughter, Nolan understands that this spectacle only works if you actually care about the people inside the puzzle box.
That is so true. So, to recap the journey we've taken you on today, we started with the microscopic indie paranoia of a man squashing himself like an ant in Doodlebug.
Right.
We moved through the gritty, grounded reality of Gotham City, proving he could handle the blockbuster machine. We navigated the physics-breaking, mind-bending dreams of Inception and the inverted bullets of Tenet. And we have gone all the way out to the cosmic horrors and the universal, transcendent force of love in Interstellar and the Odyssey.
And the real value for you, as a listener and a viewer, is that understanding this evolution isn't just about collecting movie trivia. It is about recognizing how constraints, time, and perspective actively shape the narratives we consume every single day. Nolan's films train us to look closer at the media we engage with, to question the structure of a story, and to realize that time is just another tool to create meaning. He teaches us how to watch closely.
And as we close up that puzzle box we opened at the start, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder.
Okay.
If Nolan's entire filmography is populated by brilliant, haunted people trying to piece together their memories, survive ticking clocks, and find their way back home, whether it's Odysseus desperately trying to reach Ithaca, Cobb trying to wake up to his kids in Inception, or Coop crossing galaxies in Interstellar, what does our massive global obsession with his movies say about us?
That's a great question.
Are we, in our own fast-paced, fragmented modern world, just looking for a director to help us slow down time, piece together our own fractured realities, and finally find our way home? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time, keep watching closely.